Hey everybody, thanks for joining us today on the 5 On Cast, your sometimes weekly source for insights into whatever the hell I happen to care about at the time. I am your eternal, ever-burning co-host, Patrick Downs. Some may call me the modern-day Johnny Blaze, and today I am joined by David Lowe, Amy Quick's uncle and owner of David Lowe Marketing. David, I have titled today's episode The Karate Cast, and this one's going to be a storytime episode about your experience setting up a massively successful business quite a bit ago now, and your experiences over that period. Is there any color you want to add to that introduction, David?
No, that's fine.
That's it. This guy is straight to the point. He's like, that's actually everything about me.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I haven't done anything else.
So what always interested me and what Amy talks about all the time is the fact that you're in kind of a different industry versus who we might usually talk to. We're talking to a lot of SaaS people and people in consulting, and yours was set up in the martial arts space, right?
Yeah, which is quite good point actually, Pat, because I've never really done a lot on LinkedIn, and all of this is LinkedIn until recently. And Amy, who's my niece, as we were talking about, said to me, Uncle Dave, you really need to get into LinkedIn. You know, if I help you, you help me get into Facebook, because my hangout space, Patrick, is Facebook, you know. And really over the last, I don't know, probably year and a half, 2 years, I've really taken it more seriously than I should have originally. Back in my distribution and martial arts business days, you know, I mean, when I started out, I don't think there was even a thing called a computer. So, you know, it's all of that stuff. So the times have changed. I don't know what story you want to hear, but I'll tell you about how I got into the martial arts if you like.
That'd be amazing.
And that stuff. And then I'll talk about the business side of it. Because I was business coached when I grew my martial arts distribution company, and I had a business coach come into, and that was from, I don't know if you heard of, there's a franchise called Action International, which is an Australian franchise. I'm pretty sure they're in the States. They're definitely over here in Europe. And I had one of their coaches help me systemize that business. And I'll come back to that. And from that coaching experience I had, that helped me take that and actually create a coaching company for martial arts school owners. In the States, you know, it's massive. You know, I mean, there's a school everywhere, and it's big business. And I've got a lot of friends out in the States who teach as well as over here. But there was no real, back then, I'm talking 20 years ago, there was no real systemized approach to running it as a business. Because most people would go, oh, you teach karate. You know, it's like, you know, you go and play golf every now and again. It's like a hobby. You know, where I was a full-time professional martial arts instructor. I became one anyway. So, but I'll get back to that. How I got into it, I was bullied at school, usual thing. You know, when I was a real youngster, and I didn't really get into the martial arts until I was about 17. And I started off in Taekwondo, did a bit of that. I was an engineer by trade, which I worked on Formula One Grand Prix cars. I used to do all the parts. I was a tool maker for that, so I learned that stuff. And then I got out of that. I was just training in the martial arts part, sort of like on and off, just as a hobby. And then I got into sales, and I started selling insurance and investment policies and things like that. And I cut my teeth on my sales side, doing that as a commission-only salesman. And that was back in sort of like the mid '80s, I guess. I'm showing my age now, Patrick. but I'm young because I train, you know. And I ended up meeting a Japanese karate instructor who came to Oxford, and everyone's heard of Oxford University, all that. And I didn't live very far from Oxford, and I was invited down to this training course, and there was this Japanese instructor there. And long story short, he invited me and a couple of other guys over to America to a tournament, and he was living in Anaheim in LA, I guess, just south of LA, and how it ended up was a cousin of my mother worked for Motorola in London, right? And it's a weird story. Back in the early days when phones were this big, you know, kind of like that, and you had to carry them in a briefcase, I guess. And he said he would sponsor us to go over there. So we had Motorola on our backs. And I'm talking 1985, right? That's how long ago. And anyway, we went over to the States, but we ended up living at his dojo in Anaheim. And the instructor, his name is Kyoshi Yamazaki, and he'd worked on the Conan films, the original ones with Arnold Schwarzenegger. So he was the sword master in the Conan films. So he kind of like, there was that kudos going on as well. And he did Red Sonja and all sorts of other different films as well. And we ended up living in his dojo for months in California. And all I did was karate full time. That was it. So when I came back to the UK, I started my own martial arts karate school, basically, or schools. I ended up with 6 martial arts schools. And that's how it, I just went professional. One day I thought I'm just going to do it, you know. And I remember I had this old car. I quit my job as a salesman because I got back into sales when I went back. I remember getting this old car. I gave back my company car, and I bought this old banger. We could call them bang, you know, a wreck, you know, like a wreck. And I remember driving to my first school. I remember taking my hands off the wheel and putting my hands together like this and going, not for long. I'm praying, saying, please God, let there be some students there. Okay. And then the car sort of veered off because it wasn't very straight. Okay. And I brought it back again. And I started, and I signed up, I don't know, about 50, 60 students on my first night. And I never looked back. And that was kind of like how that all started, Patrick, you know. It was quite an intense time because I'd gone from being employed to taking the leap of faith to become, you know, entrepreneurial and just being my own boss. That's how the martial arts bit started.
So you were running the school, right? And I know you expanded from there. Like, what did you do after the school?
Well, I used to get my products, you know, the uniforms, all the sparring, all the stuff you needed, you know, to sell to the students. I used to travel to a place in London to get it. And then I discovered this business that was local near Oxford, actually, funny enough. And I went up there, and this is around about sort of like the mid-90s, and I met my ex-partner then, who was selling martial arts kit. And funny enough, it was from a company in the States, in Florida, called Macho Martial Arts, believe it or not. And they did all the dip foam head guards that you see, you know, people wearing and sparring, what have you. And we just started seeing each other. I was running my schools. It was a very small business then, a distribution company. She'd started from her ex. And I gradually got involved in that company. Those days, it was all telephone and magazine advertising. So we learned that way. We like telephone gauge, write your orders down. There was no computers or anything to start with. I think we were the first company as we grew to actually have a website in our industry. It was that long ago. It was crazy, you know, dial-up modems and all that sort of stuff. It really was that progression. So I've been there from sort of like ground zero to where we are today. Anyway, we grew that company we ended up having our own brand and also being key distributors for some top brands as well. One of them is a company in America who are globally the biggest martial arts supplier. And they're called Century Martial Arts. I know you guys probably seen that torso, Bob, you know,
Bob?
Bob, Bob, you know, you beat up Bob. Well, we imported those from them. They became famous making those, and we imported those to the UK, and that was kind of like, didn't look back. We're bringing over a container a week, 60-foot container every week from them at that point, until I split up from my ex. And about 2010, we've grown the company from probably a turnover of maybe 40,000-50,000 a year to close to 4 million. So that'd be about $6 million, $7 million a year.
Whoa. Over what course of time did that growth happen?
That was probably over about 12 years, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah. It was bootstrapped.
Amazing.
There was no funding, no venture capital, nothing. It was all our own money. Never one loan in the company, ever. Never borrowed any money.
Are you still in the same business, or have you shifted again?
Well, during that time, good question. During that time of that company, you know, over a period of time, all your problem. This is the thing I always say to people: whether you want to go from 0 to 100K, or from 100K to 500, or 500 to a million, and XXX, it's the same concept, but just the problems get bigger. That's all it is. So we needed to replicate ourselves. So we had to employ people. We went through all of that stuff, from it being just picking and packing, taking orders and shipping stuff out, to employing people, you know, running our social media, running our website, bringing in product design, product development. It just grew and grew and grew, you know. And I brought in a business coach probably around about 2003 or 4, to help me develop the company and systemize it. And I had him coach me for 2 years to tick all the boxes to make sure we'd systemize stuff. But during that time, I'd also taken those ideas and morphed them into a martial arts coaching business. So I kind of figured out if I could educate my industry and help them grow, the school owners grow from a business point of view, because I knew the martial arts, Patrick, because I was a high level black belt anyway, so I could do that stuff. So I knew what they did on the floor, but that didn't interest me. It's what they did off the floor that was the important part. And business is business at the end of the day. You've got to systemize it. You're in the people, you're in the service industry, all that type of thing. So you need to look at it that way. And we developed with another business partner of mine, we developed a coaching program. Funnily enough, I've got the 90-day. I actually launched the program online, and I actually wrote a PDF in 2008, and this is it.
Oh, there it is.
There it is. This is the coaching program that we sold online. We used to see people, we used to run 90-day coaching, but we took a 90-day coaching system. There it is there, look, Biotomic Coaching, that was the company. Don't do that URL, guys, because it doesn't work anymore. But the company is called Biotomic Distribution. So if you look that up, you'd see that that's the martial arts company, my old company. And this was a proper coaching manual that we actually we sold as a downloadable PDF for, I think, $97. I remember hitting go, driving down to my house I had on the coast at the time, got there, put my laptop on, and I saw the money coming in. Kind of went from $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. People just downloading this. It's crazy. But that's how my online experience started. Really, quite funny.
I'm curious because, I'm sure you have to be very adaptable to run a business over that period of time, right? What is this, over 30 years?
Well, I've been kind of doing that for 30 years, yeah, pretty much.
Wow. What were some of the challenges? Because there have been a lot of changes in the last 3 decades, right? When it comes to the internet, it sounds like you were jumping on those trends pretty quickly with an early website. You mentioned ClickFunnels, and I'm sure you had to move from a lot of print stuff to digital. How are you staying sharp on that stuff as things were changing?
Well, the money's in the math, as they say, don't they? So you got to know your numbers. And I guess really, I tend to keep myself out there on the peripheral. I always say, when people say, "Oh, what do you do?" I say, "Well, I'm on the horizon, if you like. I'm out there seeing I'm watching the sunrise as it's happening." You have to do that. You can't do it on everything, Patrick, because you'll just, you'll be spinning too many plates. But if you focus on the thing you're interested in and don't have too many distractions, and you keep your finger on the pulse, so to speak, you can learn as you go. That's the only way to do it, and bootstrap yourself, and do your self audit every now and again and make sure that you're going the right way. I mean, we went from, in the old days, it was e-commerce. We were in the e-commerce space. I mean, I learned about Shopify and drop shipping, all that later on, a few years ago. I understand all the, the mechanics behind all of that. But we were a physical product. So initially we had to use print ad. So we understood about that. We then, when Facebook started and social media, we got into that. We were the first company in the UK that Amazon phoned up for a martial arts company. 2001. They rang me up on my mobile. I was out having lunch, and I had a phone call, and it was Amazon. And they said, "Hey, we're looking for a martial arts distributor to go onto the UK Amazon site." Didn't have one at the time. And I went, "Great." I said, "Are we going to be exclusive?" They went, "Yeah."
What year was this? It depends on how powerful Amazon was at the time, right?
That was 2001 or 2. It was early days. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
did you end up taking that?
Yeah, we were the first martial arts company to be on Amazon as a supplier, which changed us as well, because we had to then take it seriously from a sense of our products had to have barcodes on, which was unheard of back then, and all of the ISBN numbers and stuff like that. So we had to adapt pretty quick. Actually, might have been a little bit later. Could have been 2003 or 4. So I'm thinking when we moved into a full-time premises, we actually bought the premises, the warehouse in. I did own it, and I think we were in there at the time. Pretty sure, yeah. But that was a big thing. So Amazon, eBay, we dabbled with a bit, but that's changed a lot now. But I really became interested in Facebook, that side of things, and managing your numbers. I mean, for example, if you're looking at, from example, e-commerce, you need to know whether whether you're actually converting people at checkout, abandoned cart rates, things like that. We became quite hot on that side of it, and trying to figure out where our traffic was going, if we were losing people, ads we were doing, seasonal stuff, because everything's seasonal, so yeah, we adapted pretty quick. I don't know if that's answered your question.
You definitely did. You definitely did. I'm curious, like, what was the biggest roadblock for you in adapting to the new market?
Roadblocks. I guess
Challenge.
just, challenges really. I mean, I suppose you get roadblocks when you're trying to do something new, I think, or you're trying to rediscover yourself. That's the kind of thing. So when I came out of the distribution side of things, I guess just trying to figure out what I wanted to do, because I was always, I always business coached. I always coached people, whether they're in the martial arts industry or outside of the martial arts industry. Business is business. A friend of mine wrote a book called Business is Business, actually. And he's right. He was a martial arts teacher, school owner in Florida. And, it doesn't really matter. That's why I enjoy the the LinkedIn stuff we do with 5 on Friday, because that isn't my world, as a sense of the way these people are employed or doing their sales, like you said, the SaaS stuff, but it's the same thing at the end of the day. It's kind of like, you've got to find your customers, you've got to be able to pitch properly, you've got to be able to, customers change nowadays. We fast forward, customers change. The driver for them really is more, especially in the world, the space I'm in. It's about creating a relationship with them as well, and get a trust. No trust, that stuff. You've got to grow all that type of thing. So I think the wall for me was trying to figure out what was the right direction to go in, and then then learning this stuff. I mean, like ClickFunnels, for example. I mean, they're great at teaching people how to understand. It's not the process. You can't sell anything if the product's not any good. You can have you need that mechanism there. You've got to have 3 things. You've got to have the audience, but you've got to have the product. But you can't. It's pointless having the product so you haven't got the audience. And that's a wall in itself. So figuring out. There's a great example. There's a guy called Ryan Levesque, and he came up with a thing called the ask method. And he's multi-millionaire, does his pitch every now and again. You'll see him out there if you look for him. He asks people what they want before he builds it. That's clever. That's just, it's logic at the end of the day. If you've got something that's at that value, and most people, like we've had some different people on the 5 on Friday, they've already done their due diligence. They know what the need is in the market, what that gap is, and that actual thing. But they've still got to find the right marketplace and the right audience to sell it to. It's kind of like the message there. It's really finding yourself, for me, was what I wanted to do again. That was the hard part for me.
Before we go, David, that story was amazing, and I really appreciate you coming on. I think what the audience is thinking, and the burning question is, did you ever have to, fight someone to the death because you're in karate? Like one of your competitors? Was there ever a situation where you guys just met in the street and some Western music played and you guys sparred? Because if that didn't happen, I'll be very disappointed. I'm going to be honest with you.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Martial arts and drink doesn't mix, because I've tried that. That doesn't work. You try doing a jumping side kick and then you fall flat on your ass. You think to yourself, I didn't do that in the dojo. Oh dear. Have I ever used it in self-defense?
Have you ever had to pull out the martial arts?
Yes.
Really?
Not very often, because it teaches you, it's the same old thing really. It teaches you about not fighting. That's what it's all about. Somebody says to you, "Oh, you're a black belt." Well, yeah, but you can be black belt and anything. It's that holds my trousers up. I've got a black belt on. It's regardless of anything. I've had a couple of instances. Nothing lately, because I'm getting too old now, and I'll probably break something before I hit anyone.
You're still a black belt, though. I feel like you kick my ass pretty hard. So
I'm pretty. I could defend myself. Okay. I mean, a lot of the guys, you'll laugh. I mean, I've got a friend who lives over in Spain. Is English. He's worked on all the Batman films, all the Jack Reacher films. He's done all the self-defense choreography on all of that stuff. They're good mates of mine. They even those guys, they've been in the odd situation, but not many. Because you try and steer away from it. Here's one for you, right? This is a great one. Ready? I'll finish off. I'm about to start working with a guy who's Simon Cowell's personal not bodyguard, but advisor on security. You got no Simon Cowell?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
And he also worked with Michael Jackson as well. He was his personal
Wow.
bodyguard over here and sometimes over there as well. Bless him.
That's amazing. I hope you
And
guys
he's
can
got,
spar.
yeah, and he's a martial arts guy. I'll tell you what, but he's like, it's a really weird one because he's got the largest franchise of martial art networks in the UK. Well, he's in Australia as well. He's in the UK and Australia as well. But this guy's just phenomenal. But the crazy thing is, he's done this great job. But I've gone in and I did a live like we're doing now with about 50 of his instructors on a Zoom 2 days ago, and I was talking to them about how to use organic traffic in Facebook, because that's my thing, right? And none of them really knew that they could do certain things on their Facebook profiles, and I'm pretty sure LinkedIn as well. I'm investigating now. They were kind of like, because I said to him afterwards, what was the feedback? He said, David blew them away because they didn't know they could do this stuff. You know, that's my thing, right? I'm gonna leave you with that. That's my thing. You know, I can show you about organic traffic and finding customers easily.
I love it, David. I love it. Is there anything you want to plug before we go today?
Just reach out to me if anybody does. I've got an online program that I teach, but it's a video course that shows you how to actually take. This is for Facebook. If you guys have got, you know, a lot of LinkedIn people do have Facebook accounts, but because you're in one space or the other, it's like me, I'm learning LinkedIn now. If you want to learn about Facebook, let me know, because that's my thing. You know, but I'm looking at LinkedIn and I'm thinking, well, it's applicable over here as well. And I've seen some of my kind of associates, if you like, creating LinkedIn accounts from their online marketing products and bringing them to LinkedIn now, and it looks like it's pretty it's workable. It's good. So if anybody wants to contact me, I'm not going to sell them anything, but you know, they want to talk to me about coaching or anything like that, I'm happy to talk. Lots
Awesome.
of experience.
Yeah, definitely reach out to David and check him out on 5 on Friday. We should be having you back soon.
Yeah.
The UK branch is going very well. I'm very excited about that. But once again, guys, you know what it is. You've been listening to the 5 on cast. It's probably actually going to be weekly now, so I can say weekly source for insights into whatever I happen to care about. I am once again your beautifully delicious co-host, Patrick Downs, Rod Serling of the modern age. You can connect with us on LinkedIn and follow 5 on Friday on LinkedIn, YouTube, and subscribe to our podcast wherever you like to put sound into your ear holes. You're beautiful. Don't ever change. David, have a great day, man. Thanks for being on.